Hi, everyone. Today, we're going to be diving into how to boost donations by 400% by eliminating limiting beliefs. So, limiting beliefs are the beliefs that hold us back from achieving our full potential. So, these are the thoughts and assumptions that we carry about ourselves, our organizations, our donors, our community. These beliefs often go unchallenged and unnoticed. So, they can stem from past experiences, cultural conditioning, or even the opinions of others. By the end of today's session, we will identify common limiting beliefs and learn strategies to overcome them. This will help you grow as a fundraiser, but also enhance our ability to contribute to our organizations and communities because we'll be able to see when those limiting beliefs come up. So let's get started. So who's this presentation for? If you're an ED looking for sustainable and scalable growth, then this presentation is for you. If you're a director of development looking to raise more money without the stress, we're here for you. We're here to help you streamline your efforts. If you're a nonprofit leader looking to diversify funding, if you're a fundraiser who wants to fundraise in a way aligned with your values. So whether you're an ED, a DoD, or a nonprofit leader, this presentation is tailored to address your unique challenges and help you succeed. So it's as much as I can give you in this time that we have together. So let's cover what we'll discuss today. This will give you a roadmap of what to expect and how we can make the most of our time together. We will cover 5 wrong beliefs limiting your organization's fundraising potential. So get rid of the old, get rid of the wrong, and then get the right information. We'll go into how to debunk these beliefs, understanding that these beliefs might be holding you back. So how to break through those barriers and achieve your goals. Next, we'll go into my 5 pillars of great fundraising. So these pillars provide a solid foundation and actionable strategies to enhance your fundraising. So they should help you scale both your revenue and organizational growth, but they do have some additional benefits like scaling your reach and building deeper relationships with people. So I'm really excited about that part. And lastly, we'll explore various strategies and introduce you to communities and individuals, including myself, who can support you in exceeding your fundraising targets. So today we're going to challenge some myths, build a strong foundation, and connect you with the resources you need to succeed. By the end of the presentation, you'll have a clear path forward. So I want to give you some real world examples of organizations that have ditched limiting beliefs and implemented effective strategy. So Out on Screen is an organization that uses queer film to transform social and political landscapes. They run educational programming in schools, and they run the Vancouver Queer Film Festival. Out on Screen had been working without a director of development or a fundraising strategy for the better part of a year. So this lack of clear strategy and dedicated personnel led to several challenges for the organization. So one, limited budget, limited capacity. That means that they're already stretched thin. So their resources are stretched thin, their people are stretched thin. And worse, without a strategy, fundraisers were spending time on activities that were not yielding the best results. So you're missing out on more fruitful opportunities. Also, it was one fundraiser and their ED was completely on the brink of burnout, having to devote most of his time to writing grants instead of focusing on strategic growth and leadership. So the whole team was very stressed, as you can imagine, and their fundraising efforts were not as effective as they could be. So this was an unsustainable situation and obviously risked the organization's long-term success. So if you have been in the situation, I'm sure you can relate. Let's see what happened when Out on Screen moved away from these limiting beliefs and implemented the right strategies. So Madeline mentions that their overall funding increased by 30% in just 1 year, thanks to a more robust grant writing program, better documentation, and a replicable system. So they saw a 30% increase in annual revenue. That's across everything, tickets, donations, grants, in just 1 year. This definitely was a significant boost that allowed them to reinvest in their mission. So they use this new fundraising strategy to identify and eliminate less fruitful opportunities, focusing their efforts where it really mattered. So that helped increase revenue, it helped reduce burnout, it helped promote their fundraiser into a fundraising manager, and it actually also helped to expand their team. So just by focusing on efficient resource allocation, you can go really far. You can increase your team morale and engagement and just really pick the right strategy. I'll give you one more kind of case study before we jump into the false belief. The Vancouver International Jazz Festival is run by Coastal Jazz. They are BC's largest music festival and attract hundreds of artists from around the world and as many as 500,000 jazz enthusiasts every year. So this festival is a huge part of their fundraising, and they hadn't fundraised much outside of their signature event. Their fundraising was mostly focused around sponsorships around the festival, and that left them with limited engagement in revenue streams during the rest of the year. So a challenge with this is that their revenue was inconsistent throughout the year, and they missed opportunities for ongoing donor engagement. The seasonal approach led to financial instability, makes it difficult to plan, it makes it difficult to execute programs during a year. They really needed to focus on growing their unrestricted revenue outside of the festival. So let's see what they did. Nina emphasizes that they now have a sustainable and actionable fundraising plan, yielding better results than past efforts. So they have done a lot of different things to tap into their audience, not only as the festival goers, ticket holders, but also throughout the year. And because of improved storytelling, improved engagement, more meetings, more relationship building, they've actually seen some really great success. So they saw a 421% increase in the number of year-end donations from 43 to 224 in just 1 year, which is awesome. They experienced a 307% increase in dollars raised, which is significant to their financial stability, especially since we were looking at only restricted revenue before. They also gained 7 new monthly donors, which I always love and I wanted to highlight. So they used opportunities throughout the year. They took the time to understand their community and what makes their value proposition unique so they could better tailor their messages to engage people. So I think you get that this works. And I want to make sure that you have all the tools to apply it as best as possible in your organization. So when organizations adopt the methods of moving away from the wrong strategies to really focus their resources on the right ones, they get to see exponential growth. That's what we're going to talk about today. Before we get into the wrong beliefs and how to overcome them, let me briefly introduce myself. My name is Maria Rio. My pronouns are she and her. I came to Canada as a refugee and used a lot of charitable services growing up myself. So food banks, drop-ins, getting gifts from strangers, those are all very formative experiences for myself. So when I was old enough to start fundraising, I started doing so. My first fundraising role was for a company called Public Outreach. I'm sure many of you are familiar with it. It involved face-to-face conversations with people on the street, in shopping centers, at events. And it really helped me understand how to connect with people quickly, effectively, and get them to make a gift about something that they now cared about, even if they didn't know about the organization before. So I worked with 12 agency clients at Public Outreach, which allowed me to understand the unique needs and challenges of different types of organizations, which was crucial when I transitioned into nonprofit proper. I eventually became a DoD and was a DoD for many years at small and mid-sized nonprofits. And in these roles, I was responsible for advocacy, donor relations, team leadership. With my lived experience, I really want to use fundraising as a form of advocacy. So I believe fundraising should not only support our financial goals, but also advance social causes and empower communities. That's why I'm really fond of this community-centric fundraising model, which believes that the act of raising money and other resources is a tool that we can use to create a better, more equitable world to achieve collective liberation. So my approach to fundraising is rooted in empathy, authenticity, social justice. And I believe successful fundraising is not just about securing funds, but also building lasting relationships and trust with our communities, our donors, our volunteers, our service users, our whole community. Unfortunately, I was unhappy in house. So boards were resistant to trying new things. And I knew that the old practices didn't cut it, especially post the murder of George Floyd. These practices didn't align with my values and they felt outdated. The same old doesn't resonate with people anymore. This realization led to me seeking new ways to drive change and innovate in the sector. It pushed me to create a space for myself where I could implement and advocate for effective and ethical fundraising strategies. So I started Further Together and have been consulting ever since. My goal with Further Together is to provide tailored consulting services that help nonprofits achieve their fundraising goals and stay true to your values. I've been very lucky to work with such amazing clients, and I just really believe in the work. So everything that I teach and implement is designed to exponentially increase your impact, your reach, your funds, and capacity. I know how important the work that you do is. I've lived it. Let's jump in. What are the 5 beliefs that are holding your organization back from reaching its full potential? I'm sure some of you have heard some of these and maybe you didn't know what to say, but I'm going to tell you. Okay, we're going to ditch this belief. So, when I first started fundraising, I also thought this was all about money. Over time, I learned that the most successful fundraising campaigns are those that are centered around relationships. So, fundraising is actually about building and nurturing relationships. So, get rid of that fundraising is about money belief. It's about relationships. It's about connecting with people who share your mission and values and engaging them in your mission. For example, think back to Coastal Jazz. They shifted their focus from just asking for money during their festival to focusing on engaging donors year round. And they saw a 421% increase in year end donations. By focusing on relationships, you cultivate long term support, so very sustainable support from donors who feel connected to your mission and your values. When they see themselves as valued partners, they stick around longer. I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir with this one, but I really want to hammer let's shift from a transactional approach to a relationship focused approach in our fundraising as much as possible with your fundraising strategies because that will lead to less donor attrition and to more donor loyalty and engagement. My second belief that we need to ditch is we don't need a digital strategy. We have Facebook, we have Instagram. That's good enough, right? The truth is, you need ways to convert supporters into advocates, especially automatically. And this is one of the things that I think a lot of organizations miss. Your website, your social media, your digital funnels, they are your 24/7 fundraiser. They work when you're asleep. So when you're not available, they actually continue to build those relationships for you. So it helps us engage with different donors across different demographics, including a global audience, and build a more extensive supporter base. You can do things that will really provide deeper engagement for the donor and will provide you with valuable insight and data that can help you tailor your fundraising strategies, track performance, and make informed decisions. So we're going back to that resource allocation. So by moving away from putting things in the wrong strategies, we're putting them on the right strategies, right? So really, you can only do that with data and information. So the more that you can do it, the better. We can't afford to invest in fundraising. The truth is, you can't afford not to invest in fundraising. So whether professional development, hiring, so you're not doing 7 jobs, consulting, or software that will make your job a lot easier. Investing in fundraising builds capacity to attract and retain donors, ensuring you have a steady stream of revenue to support your organization and that your list isn't just slowly petering off. So it ensures that you don't miss any opportunities that are available just because you didn't know about them. So strategic investments in fundraising will yield long-term financial returns. If we get just one big donor, we'll be set. I know you've heard this. I know your ED has said this to you or your board chair. So the truth is, you can't put all your eggs in one basket. You need a strategy that focuses on diversification of revenue. So you can't have just one portfolio. Try to expand that. So engaging a variety of donors, regardless of their gift size, fosters a strong and supportive community around your cause. You really start building up advocates who can then go to other people and tell them about why they care so much about your organization's work. Okay, my last limiting belief: fundraising is a necessary evil. The truth is, fundraising is critical in moving money to mission and in educating the broader community. So it's a vital tool for advancing your mission. And what I want to say here is fundraising is a part of the mission, not a part of it. So it's a critical part. It shouldn't be siloed, it shouldn't be moved off to that side. So embracing fundraising as a critical and rewarding activity fosters good culture, good morale, more effective fundraisers. It increases loyalty and support. If the eyes are the window to the soul, fundraising is the gateway to the heart. So, fundraising allows organizations to connect deeply with donors. So, now that we talked about these limiting beliefs, let's talk about how you can overcome them. So, we'll be doing that through my 5 pillars of great fundraising. So, most organizations operate with very limited time and resources. meaning that where you are spending your time and resources has to be the highest impact, highest return, most effective fundraising strategy. So by focusing on those things, you're able to do strategic prospecting, optimize digital funnels, compelling campaigns, and just really maximize your success. So, my 5 pillars of great fundraising are what I think all fundraising portfolios and professionals should be very skilled at. And they provide a comprehensive structure for building and assessing your fundraising strategy. So, even with limited resources, you can achieve sustainable growth and long term success. As we saw earlier with the work that we've done, the 5 pillars are proven to increase donor engagement, retention, and satisfaction, align your fundraising with your organizational values, enhance your organization's ability to meet and exceed fundraising targets, elevate brand awareness and storytelling, leading to a stronger community presence, and more. So, here are the 5 pillars and how you assess your fundraising efforts against each. So, my first one-to-one solicitation. The main skill of this pillar is identifying a donor's reason for giving and using that knowledge to inform your personalized strategy for that particular person. So, this pillar is all about building really strong one-to-one relationships and tailoring solicitations to individual prospects. So, you could see this in grants or in corporate or in major gifts. Having those one-to-one relationships is key. So, to succeed with this pillar, you'll need a systematized approach to identifying, managing, and growing your portfolio, strategic resource allocation. So, making sure that you're spending your time in the right spots in the most promising opportunities, and to learn one on one solicitation techniques. So, ensuring that you can effectively communicate the organization's impact and form strong donor relationships. We'll dive a little bit deeper into some of these parts. Don't feel overwhelmed just yet, but these are the things that you'll want to look at when you're looking at this pillar. Key metrics will be the number of new gift prospects you identify, the conversion rate of prospects to donors, average donation size from major gift asks, engagement and response rates to personalized communication, and donor retention and satisfaction levels. Pillar 2, your digital acquisition strategy. So this pillar aims to attract, engage, and convert prospects into donors. It's a one-to-many strategy. So the first one was one-to-one, this one's one-to-many, that works on autopilot with minimal time and effort on your part beyond the initial setup of the funnels. So you definitely need a very effective communications and acquisition strategy to amplify your reach, your advocacy, and acquisition efforts. Think of this pillar like a road your supporters are on time and time again. So they don't go on this road just once, it's every single time. So here are the road steps, right? So we have awareness and lead generation, conversion, stewardship, retention, and advocate. So to succeed with this pillar, you need to do a deep assessment of your current digital footprint and make data-driven decisions around target audiences, methods of engagement, solicitation, usability, and design. You should ensure also that your digital practices comply with the relevant regulations, any accessibility laws, or any industry best practices, and prioritize as much as possible optimizing and automating. That will be your best friend when it comes to this pillar. So if you optimize and automate as much as possible, if you get something like Zapier or Omatic, whatever makes your tools work better together will save you time, and time is money. So optimize and automate, streamline your operations, and this will help staff focus on higher value tasks. Key metrics for this funnel will be your website traffic and engagement rates, your open and click-through rates on your email campaigns, your conversion rates from digital campaigns. So if you had 500 million impressions and only 2 people gave you their email, there's something wrong with that. Your bounce rates and session duration on your website, the number of new donors acquired through digital channels, and number of emails collected via social media, ads, and the website. We're going to move on to pillar number 3. So this is the one-to-many campaign solicitation. We all have appeals, we all have direct mail, we have email campaigns, we have text to give, events, anything like that would fit into this pillar. So to succeed with this pillar, you must do a deep assessment of your past wins. You should use trauma-informed practices to gather and deliver stories and use psychology and design to maximize all chosen campaign channels. And we'll do a little bit of a dive into that later. Your key metrics will be your total funds raised and return on investment, your donor retention and engagement rates. If someone's making a gift, are they coming back again? Pillar number 4, your organization's unique value proposition. So a value proposition is the basis of all your fundraising and communication. So to succeed with this pillar, you'll need to bring together your team, identify organizational values, gather stories, stats, and testimonials. So you can have that qualitative and quantifiable data to really bring home the point that this is an impactful organization that people should support. You also need to know what makes your organization unique and how to talk about that. Even if your organization is the most unique, if you don't know how to talk about it, then people can't engage, right? Some people really stand out, even though their organization is not unique, because they know how to talk about it. So, really making sure that you're able to tell your story in a way that's very clear to understand. And we'll dive into that into the next slide. Key metrics for this one are donor feedback and satisfaction surveys. So let's talk about the easiest way to talk about your value proposition. So this is the easiest way that you can do it, and it should be included in all your communications. Keep it super simple, so as easy as possible. So step 1, what does your organization believe in? What does your organization do? It sounds simple, but maybe someone is not aligned with what the organization believes in. So really coming together and saying, we believe that, right? So we believe that nobody should be hungry. Just like that, very easy. Don't use access to food. People don't know what that means, right? So we believe that people should have homes. Very easy. It makes it super clear for someone to understand and to resonate with what you do. So we believe someone should have homes. I'm starting with my why. It also helps in then engaging with the donors. Why do you give? Why do you care? And I'll tell you why I give, why I care, right? Then what does your organization do? So we do whatever it is. Make it simple. Don't tell them about 7 different programs. Tell them like a holistic view of your organization. So we provide food bank campers. Very easy. So we believe everyone should have food. We provide food bank campers. Keep it easy. The most important part will be the story, right? We know that people give to stories over stats time and time and time again. So really that story will have to be as simple as possible, but very impactful. And the simplest way is to divide it into 4 parts: your problem, your solution, your result, and your impact. So for each one of these things, you want to pick one thing to talk about. So we're not going to talk about, let's go back to hunger. So people are hungry because they are on social assistance, and also because they have minimum wage jobs, and also because they have to feed 17 family members and they're precariously employed and they're gig workers. I'm already losing you, right? So let's just focus on one part of that. So people are hungry because they're on ODSP, the Ontario Disability Assistance Program, right? So that's one problem. Now, what does your organization do about that? What's the solution to that specific problem? People are hungry. We give them food. The result is they're fed, and the impact is they don't have to use rent money to pay for groceries, right? So they are able to maintain their housing situation. So really talking about the impact is really important. And then the fundraiser's purpose is, what are you asking the donor to do? So are you asking them to sign a petition? Are you asking them to write to a representative, to show up to an event? What exactly are you asking them to do? And how does that relate to the problem, solution, result, and impact? And ideally, at the beginning, when you're talking about what you believe in, you've heard what they believe in. So you can actually tailor the charity story to something that they care about, pitch for that person. So really trying to get that first before you go into a charity story is very important. Sometimes you can't do it because you're using it as a one-to-many campaign, but if you can, it's helpful. My 5th pillar is modern and consistent branding. So again, does your website look like it was made in the 80s? What about your annual report? Modern branding is crucial for nonprofits to remain relevant, attract support, and communicate their mission. And I'm sure many of you will be able to tell what modern branding looks like versus not. But just here are some ways that you can assess your own branding. So review your materials. Are they modern, professional, and reflective of your organization's mission and values? Now, with something like Canva, there's almost no excuse to have unprofessional looking documents. So, really trying to make sure that they are reflective of the quality of work that your organization is happy to have out there. Brand recognition. Do people know your brand? Do you have multiple brand names? Is there any confusion around what your brand is? So, really measuring awareness and perception of your brand among your target audience. So, whether that's your target donor audience or service user audience, like you really want to make sure that people know what the brand is and what it means. Consistency. So, evaluate the consistency of your branding across all communication channels and materials. And then emotional appeal. Assess the emotional impact of your branding. Does it resonate and connect with the audience on a deeper level? A cohesive visual identity helps maintain brand recognition and trust. So you really want to aim for this as much as possible. And for some of these pillars or some of these elements, I don't recommend that you try to do it all in-house. It sometimes is a lot faster to just hire a branding expert, a consultant, whoever, to do it externally. And then you have that product that you know will work within a month. And if you try to do it yourself, yes, you're saving the X amount of dollars it costs to get a new logo, but maybe it took you a year longer. So now you're a year behind on this very key pillar. Don't be afraid of investing in fundraising. We went through that in the limiting beliefs. Really try to do as much as possible. One of my clients, so Agent Core Community Services Association, this was their website before and this is their website after. What I want to say with this is remember that people don't really read, right? If you have to do a deep dive or really start reading all the small text everywhere to understand what the organization does, that material is not as impactful as you want it to be. You have to make sure that your brand can be understood without the person seeing it, having to read every single word. You have to optimize your design to make the most out of people's busy lives and short attention spans. So we can see like the imagery makes a big difference. The color has good contrast. It's ADA compliant. There's things that are highlighted where it attracts your eye a little bit faster. So really making sure that the design matches the branding and the organizational impact without having to rely on specific walls of text for people to understand. So as a quick overview, here are my 5 pillars. One-to-one solicitation, digital acquisition and funnels, one-to-many, a strong value proposition, and modern and consistent branding. We're going to break it down and talk about where you can start. To start, you'll need to assess your organization's capacity, strengths, weaknesses, and threats, and use them in crafting a targeted community-centric strategy. Okay, so you did your SWOT. You're all good. The next thing is to pick 1 or 2 overarching goals. So don't start trying to do virtual events and also I'm going to do planned giving and I'm going to have my corporate strategy and I'm going to whatever. If you're a small team, you should really focus on 1 to 2 things instead of really trying to do as many as possible. So pick 1 to 2 overarching goals for the year. So that could be donor engagement or something like that and set how you're going to reach that. I want you to think about today, if you had to pick 1 pillar, which would it be? And how would you know that was the right choice? So would it be digital strategy? Would it be one-to-one campaigns, one-to-many? And how would you know that's the right choice? The other thing that you can do is find communities on LinkedIn or Facebook that can relate to your struggles. So many of you are probably familiar with the Community-Centric Fundraising Hub. That to me was a great resource when I was still trying to understand the difference between donor-centric and community-centric and how it aligned with my values, if it did, and how to move things along. There's a lot of people in these communities who have put so much time and effort into figuring things out. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time that you bump into a challenge that is new to you. So there's a lot of really helpful people in these communities that you can just, in nonprofit happy hour, you could even post anonymously and ask for support. And the community is very giving. Like I've actually reviewed appeals of people in nonprofit happy hour because they asked for support, right? So just being part of a community is super, super helpful. The other thing you can do is listen to podcasts. I have a podcast called The Small Nonprofit. I usually talk about how to align your major gift strategy with your values, or to talk about email collection and building that piece of your funnel. So just like really getting into those circles where you're by osmosis receiving a lot of this information. So you don't have to actively go looking for it, but you might see it pop up on your Facebook and you say, oh, that's actually something that I dealt with last year, or that's something that I've never thought about, but it's really interesting. If you get stuck with any of the pillars, you can see if I can help you. I am currently accepting 1 to 2 clients to do a fractional fundraising service. So that's a 12-month implementation where I create the strategy with you, do the SWOT analysis, and move towards really improving your fundraising. We specialize in community centric fundraising. We fundraise for you and create the best strategy tailor made for your organization. And you have the expertise of a director level fundraiser on a part time basis. One of our biggest key values is the done for you implementation that we provide. Our skill framework is based on my 5 great pillars of fundraising. These pillars are key to everything that I do. The framework focuses on having weekly check ins, making sure that you're feeling as supported as possible, that you can move forward and don't get stuck. It's a one stop shop for anyone who needs really expert advice. Again, I have room for 1 to 2 more fractional fundraising clients. If you need more hands on deck, strategic support, or to sleep better at night, we're your team. You can also send me an email, maria@gofurthertogether.ca. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm more than happy to continue the conversation. And thank you all. Bye for now.